What's up? Another prep log. So I guess this one I just was going to talk about patience, I suppose, would be the topic. It's very interesting and humbling experience prepping, and I guess what I'm getting at here is just the idea that I can't tell you how many times, because I haven't pinned down the exact shows that I'm doing, sometime in October and November. And so how many times, dating back months and months and months ago, like even back into March or April. So when are you doing your shows? So when's your contest? So when, like everyone asking, at every possible, friends, work, everyone. And it's just kind of funny because it's like, the same people that asked, say, 30 weeks ago are the same people that asked 25 weeks out, that asked 20 weeks out, that asked 15 weeks out, that asked 10 weeks out. And I guess what it all points me to is just, and this isn't to like call anyone out or say, but I think it's just a general issue that a lot of people have, is just not enough patience. And so it's kind of that idea, we'll ask them, and then they forget that, like, hey, we already asked them, and we're asking again, and then we're asking again. It's like the little kid, like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? And so, you get asked this so many times, and you start to wonder to yourself, like, how do they not know that they've already asked this a bunch of times? And again, I just think it's that perspective in terms of patience. And so it's like most things, I think if they take longer than, say, 4 or 5, 6 weeks or whatever it is, people won't do them. And so that's why you get asked so much, when is your contest, because it's kind of like, well, if this much time has gone by and you haven't done it yet, well then, like, you must be ready to move on to the right thing, right? And I think people just don't understand just how long it takes. And I will humbly say, as I say all this, that I'm about to get some serious rude awakenings myself, because I know that I haven't even really gotten to the hardest part yet. The next however many weeks till the show are really going to be the true grind, where I really, really have to suck it up and make stuff happen, even when I'm feeling really, really drained, because I already feel quite drained. But so it's just that perspective of patience that I think is lacking, and honestly kind of sad in my opinion, just that people view things so short term. In the same way, like, for example, I think also just that patience influencing your decisions, that people get too impatient and then they do things rashly, and it's like, just sit tight. Huge shout out to Jeff Alberts. He actually just posted a video log. If you don't already know him, he's a Team 3DMJ prep coach. Super good guy. A lot of good advice comes from that guy, and just a lot of good perspective from being in the sport for so long. And Jeff was just putting up a vlog talking about how he's, I think, probably like 55 or 60 weeks out from his shows, and he's starting to vlog. And a lot of people would just be like, are you nuts? Like, why take so long? That's actually kind of like the approach I took, about 55, 60 weeks, whatever it may be. And he just talks about all his plans about how to kind of gradually coast along, rather than have to do any rash, fast prep. And I think what really jumped out to me about that, and just kind of my perspective on a few recent things, is just, once again, like, your view on things, as well as how patience interfaces with it all. So, like, for example, this is going to sound stupid to someone that's not prepping, but if people that track their food intake quite regularly will get this. So it says something like canned fruit, all right? It's going to be a little weird. So, canned fruit, all right? So I'm eating it in the off season, whatever, who cares? Then comes contest time, you start weighing your food, and then suddenly it, like, dawns on you, like, oh crap. Like, wait a minute, depending on how much fruit juice was in that can. So, if I'm weighing out the actual fruit or the juice, that's going to be an enormous difference potentially in the amount of carbs that's providing me with, the amount of sugar. And so, for example, I tend to prep a lot of my food ahead for the whole week. So I prepped a bunch of food for the week, and then suddenly that dawned on me, and then you're like sitting there like, oh crap, like, shoot, am I just sabotaging this week? Long story short, I ended up losing weight, tightening up, everything's fine. But I guess the short-term mentality would have been, I could have either been stupid and been like, oh, I need to throw this food out because I screwed it up, or I need to recalculate, like, reweigh everything. And if my perspective was, holy cow, I'm stuck on, you know, one set show and I must be in shape at X time, and, you know, kind of that slightly impatient mindset, the perspective on that could be to be really apprehensive and nervous, like I really just sabotaged my own week. Whereas instead, my thought is kind of like, well, you know, if I did in fact screw that up, it gives my body a week of a little bit higher of an intake to kind of, you know, take a little break from the diet, and that has its own benefits, to where on the flip side of that, then that should hopefully allow my body to let go of fat a little better. And then, of course, the second perspective, which is it's probably not that big of a deal, you'll be fine, and sure enough, that's exactly what happened. So that kind of leads me back early in this prep. I didn't talk very much about, basically, I was diagnosed with femoral acetabular impingement syndrome, which basically means there's a part in your femur, so the big bone in your thigh, where it there's like a, I'm trying not to get too anatomical, but basically a part where it normally kind of dips down in, and that provides a nice kind of path for your femur to swing and move and pivot at the hip. Basically, I got a bone spur in there that I was born with, and it's only just taken, I guess, busting my butt long enough for a long enough period of time for that to finally surface as an issue. And so having that bone spur in there means that every time I'm squatting deeper or leg pressing deeper or doing things with certain stances, whatever it may have you, that basically that bone spur is ripping into my labrum and causing damage, and basically irreversible damage, because your labrums don't have blood flow like you know, muscle tissue does. And so finding that out, of course, you know, initially it was kind of devastating, and I'll be honest with you, you know, I modified my training quite a bit to accommodate that. And because when I finally went to get x-rays and get everything checked out, that was when, like, it was at its worst, and you know, the pain and the issues itself were causing me to modify my training. But of course, as I learned about the condition and what was going on, could make more appropriate modifications. And so with that, right, you know, I'm already halfway into the prep. If I had the impatient mentality, it'd be like, like, crap, you know, I just have to stop doing the prep. But then it's like you can stop and say, well, hold on a minute. You know, think about how much time I have still left, right? Because I allowed myself that much time. No. Let's calm down a little and think this through. You know, I might still be able to pull this off, because reality is I'm going to train anyways, right? I love to train. So to think that suddenly I'm going to lose all of my muscle mass that I've gained over the last, you know, X number of years, and just, you know, having to modify my training, that's going to suddenly make all my muscle disappear, I think it would be kind of a ridiculous short-sighted mindset. So obviously I didn't do that. As I made those modifications, was kind of bouncing back into things, I tweaked my hamstring. I've never had that happen before. It was so, like, disheartening. I'll probably put up pictures here of the bruising and stuff, but it just freaked me out. I mean, I was doing... when the hip issue happened, I said to myself, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, at the very least, right? If everything else fails, at the very least, I can do leg extension, leg curl, and calf raise. I mean, ridiculous. Obviously, I've been squatting and deadlifting and doing plenty of other things, but at once things quieted down and I modified my stances and things like that. But, you know, just trying to prepare myself for worst case scenario. So saying, all right, worst case scenario, I'll still be able to do those things that should be adequate to at least just maintain what I've gained, obviously, throughout this prep. And then obviously once the off season approached, then it would probably be a real rude reality check of, oh crap, I need to totally overhaul everything or something. But thankfully it wasn't that extreme, but I was just preparing myself for the extreme. But in any event, so, you know, my hamstring tweaked out doing leg curls, not even like a difficult weight, just easy sets of 12, and all of a sudden pop, like, back there, and I'm like, what the heck is going on here? And then, you know, that was starting to heal up pretty good, and then I had another time where, again, it tweaked a little bit, and again, you know, it bruised and everything. I'm just sitting here like, am I falling apart? And once again, if I had this short mindset, it would have been like, well, I mean, look, the writing's on the wall, right? You get diagnosed with a hip condition that's pretty much like a permanent problem that I'm going to have to train around forever. I get 2 hamstring tweaks. Meanwhile, I've always got nagging stuff going on my elbows and shoulders. And, you know, it'd be so easy to just throw in the towel. But once again, it's like, why? You know, I'm going to be training anyways, so why not continue on the path and just find ways to work around it? And that's exactly what I've done.